where the wild things are. Max was born with OCD, obsessive compulsion disorder, which means his brain functions differently and he cannot control some of his thoughts. The causes of OCD have not been found yet, but it is said to have a neurobiological basis. He has uncontrollable, reoccurring thoughts and behaviors that he feels the urge to repeat over and over. In this case, Max is obsessed with animals and behaves like an animal day in and day out by dressing like one and acting inhumane. His mom does not understand his disorder and calls Max a wild thing. She punishes him by sending him to his room without food, which only contributes to his disorder more. One night, Max began to imagine a forest growing in his room. Slowly, the things around him turned into nature, and his dreams of becoming an animal became more and more realistic. The next thing he knew, he woke up in an actual forest, which had taken over his room, home, and neighborhood. A sea and a private ship swept into his room. He got in and set sail for what seemed like ages to the land of the wild things. He was initially scared of the wild beasts who roared and clawed at him, but he looked them straight into the eye without any fear or anxiety, and slowly became more and more like them. He was soon recognized to be the most wild thing of them all, and was deemed king of all wild things by the rest of the creatures. He enjoyed his time as a wild thing by doing whatever he liked, and living his dream to the fullest extent. Because he was king, he ordered the other wild things around, and began to cope with the fact that he could not act out all the time. Through psychotherapy and exposure and response prevention, Max became aware that he was not a wild thing and realized that he was a normal human. He became very lonely and just wanted to be with those who loved and cared for him. When he smelt the scent of hot food, he realized that the forest was not his home and that he belonged alongside his family with a normal dinner. He got into his boat and sailed away from the wild things, even though they called and screamed for him to come back. After multiple sessions of group therapy and one-on-one psychotherapy, Max was able to get the animal thoughts out of his head and return home to his room mentally. All of the forest had disappeared. His food was still warm, and he was so relieved to be able to go to sleep with a proper meal and without thoughts of being an animal racing through his mind. The end.